So you drop to your knees and you're praying, 'cause you can hear him saying he can't breathe. And it's all so overwhelming, because you know there's nothing you can do to help him. Continue to breathe. Continue to breathe. In times like these, that's what your heart is for. Continue to breathe. Continue to breathe. In honor of your brother, that's what your heart is for. There's always someone trying to take someone's power away. The history of the world is violent. Will it ever change? Now we're living in a time when you just can't hide. There's a camera in every hand. It's not elusive, even when they treat you like you're useless. We know what the truth is. Continue to breathe. Continue to breathe. In times like these, that's what your heart is for. Continue to breathe. Continue to breathe. In honor of your brother, that's what your heart is for. Fight for your life. Fight for your life in the face of a society that doesn't value your life. For the men in your life, for the boys in your life, for your brothers, for your fathers, for the ones that came before us, for the future, for the future, for the future, for the future. Continue to breathe. In times like these, that's what your heart is for. Continue to breathe. Continue to breathe. In honor of your brother, that's what your heart is for. In times like these, nothing matters more. Breathe. Continue to breathe. In honor of your brother, that's what your heart is for. Continue to breathe. Times like these, that's what your heart is for. Continue to breathe. Continue to breathe. In honor of your brother, that's what your heart is for. Continue to breathe. Continue to breathe. Times like these, that's what your heart is for.
Good evening, Milpitas High School community. Over this past week, we have seen uprisings in our county, state, nation, and in our world as a response to the tragic death of George Floyd and the continuing pattern and history of racialized violence and loss of life in our nation for our neighbors of African ancestry. Right now, you may be feeling saddened, angry, helpless, and confused. As humans, it is natural to feel these ways, as what we're experiencing is traumatic and very different from our own reality of diversity and community in Milpitas. Nevertheless, as a school community, we must stand together against injustice and racism with hearts of compassion and love, minds open to discernment and deeper understanding of ourselves and of others, and bodies that will act with moral responsibility and do what is right and good. As these events continue to unfold in our world, we must be part of the solution by having open and informed conversations with one another, with all those we meet, with our families and in our homes. So tonight, I invite all of us to breathe, to think about what it means to be able to breathe, and how that breath is often taken by others when we believe that we are more superior to our brothers and sisters, when we act in oppression or hatred. We often take our breath for granted, but we must remember our breath is our freedom. Our breath is what gives us life. Our breath is what gives us voice. Our breath is ourselves. And we all share the same air that we breathe on this planet. So with our own breath tonight, we will express as a community our solidarity against racial injustice and oppression, and how we can take our next steps as a community of learners, as a community of families and neighbors, to respond and work toward change. Change that will last, change that will make the difference, change that is sustainable, so the generations to follow will be able to take a breath without being worried that it's going to be taken away. I would like to now introduce our Superintendent, Cheryl Jordan.
Thank you, Principal Rojas, and especially for your words of wisdom and love and heart and peace, and reminder that here in Milpitas, we stand for each other. And in Milpitas Unified, we speak frequently of a culture of we, and that is what I bring today in this space where we together as a community will breathe in remembrance of all of those who are Black and who have lost their lives out of injustice because their life was not regarded with dignity and value, because of the oppression of history and racism, a history that unfortunately is not that much of a history, but is something that is with us today in each moment. And while Milpitas is special because in 1954, it was started as a city, one of the first cities in the nation purposefully desegregated, purposefully welcome as the home of Blacks, whites, Indians, Mexicans, Vietnamese, Filipinos, Chinese, all nations, all ethnicities. And because of this foundation that Milpitas was founded on, it runs in our blood of who we are in Milpitas. And it's why we are here tonight, breathing together breathing in solidarity for every one of us who has experienced injustice, and tonight, especially for those of us of African ancestry who deal with injustice every day. I know that as a white person, I have privilege that many others who are not white don't. And I'm using my privilege to stand as an ally with everyone who doesn't have the skin that I do. And I want us all to stand strong for everybody, and especially tonight and the days to come, for our brothers and sisters of African ancestry, because it's time for us to make the history truly the past. It's time for us to overcome racism, oppression, and the inequality of every one of us to live our life fully, beautifully, peacefully, freely, and with every breath that we take in a time of love for all. And together, Milpitas is one, and together we will continue to shine as a place where our humanity is up front so that we can uphold the dignity of everyone. And as we've learned throughout this school year, in particular, we can no longer allow injustice and racism to lie below the surface. We must keep it at the forefront every day. I welcome you and thank you for being with us tonight.
And now I would like to introduce Nicole Stewart, our Milpitas Unified School District Schooling Services Coordinator, who will lead us in our breath together.
Thank you. Thank you all for being here tonight. This is a very heavy time for all of us. It has been since March 16th and is getting heavier, almost feels like daily. So I want to thank you all for taking time out in your evening to spend this time together. It does mean a lot to some of us, so thank you. What we know about the events that happened with George Floyd is that he was held down and unable to breathe for 8 minutes and 46 seconds. So together tonight, we are going to breathe for that amount of time together. We will play some music so that you have something to kind of regulate to. But I do want to offer, if you'd like silence, you are welcome to mute and do that as you need, or if you'd like to play your own music while we do this. It's not necessarily a moment of silence, but a moment for us to breathe. I also just want to give a heads up that whenever we are breathing and we're still and we're in a moment of reflection, that can bring some things up. So I know I'm already anticipating some things myself, but I just want to let you know that, just to meet that with a little bit of compassion and know that it's okay to be emotional. It's okay to feel any kind of way about this. So if it's okay with you all, we'll breathe together. And I just want to also maybe be very clear that this is one of many things that we are going to do together to pay attention to this work that needs to be done on a larger scale. And part of the reason we're also breathing together is that the attorneys, yesterday there was a press conference with the attorneys for Breonna Taylor, Ahmaud Arbery, and George Floyd, remembering that this isn't just about one death, this is about many deaths over many years. And those attorneys got together yesterday, and what they did was they asked the public to breathe together, to stop and breathe. So we are doing this to honor not just George Floyd, but also the many others who have lost their lives and their breath to violence. So tonight we are going to breathe for peace. We're going to breathe for justice. We're going to breathe to heal each other and our country, and we are going to breathe for George. So I'll time us. And I also want to give you permission to move, get up, move your body if that feels better. You're welcome to lay down or sit up during this time. So we'll start our time now.
openly dreaming of.
Thank you.
Thank you, Nicole, for leading us in our breathing as community. During that time, I was looking out my window and I noticed that the sun is setting. And it's quite symbolic that at the end of the day, we all focused on ourselves and looked inward. And I hope that during this time, we all recognize the importance of our breath, the importance of others' breath. And as the sun sets, we look forward and hope that when it rises again tomorrow, that in a new day, we can make things closer to a world where it's different and everyone's life is valued. I would like to now introduce our Student Activities Director and our ASB advisor, Jarell Maneha, to share with us some of the plans and the work of our associated student body at Milpitas High School about ways that we can make tomorrow better.
Thank you, Principal Rojas. In my first year as advisor for the MHS Student Leadership and Government Organization, we established our mission statement: embraced as individuals, together as Trojans. The current environment exemplifies the injustice and inequity that has persisted in our society throughout our history. And my students and I understand that being the leaders of our school community, we have an opportunity to influence change in the systems of inequity and promote the building of community. Being together as Trojans requires each member in our community to listen and understand each other, especially the voices and experiences that have been suppressed for too long. As part of our school's effort to promote the efforts of Black Lives Matter and amplify the voices of justice and inequity, we will soon be providing an opportunity for our MHS community to share and present their voice so that students and staff and adults can have a safe space to share their thoughts and try to process everything that has been occurring. In addition, we'll be utilizing utilizing a tool for students and staff to share their voice so that our school can come together and present our united voice against racism and demanding for change. Lastly, I'll be making structural changes in my student leadership organization to form a committee of students and staff who will work to promote a culturally sustaining environment in our community to ensure that every student feels safe in their school and accepted in their own skin. And so that we as a school, as a city, as a community, we can exemplify a culture Thank you.
Thank you, Jerome. So as we conclude our Breathe event tonight, I want to assure the Milpitas High School community that we are committed to an education that is anti-racist and that allows for every member of this community to live and learn with dignity so that when our graduates leave our school and into the world, they can have hearts of light and of love, of compassion for all those who they meet and through all their careers and the ways that they will influence the communities that they become. So in the days ahead, we will communicate out these opportunities that Mr. Maneja had shared. We will be also hearing more from our community about opportunities to share that voice, to listen to each other, and together design a call of action for our community to fight against the historical and traumatic pattern of racialized violence and loss of life, especially for our neighbors of African ancestry. So let us be committed to listening deeply, reflecting inward on ourselves and what we can do, and learning from one another. And through our culture of we, together, our Milpitas High School community and Milpitas community can lift up every person with dignity and compassion. I thank you all for taking the time tonight to be together in solidarity as we hope for an equitable, a safe, a brighter future, not only in Milpitas, but in our world. Have a good night.